May I have permission from the elders to speak? Y'all gonna have a wonderful time once Umar come to the stage. Dr. Umar Johnson, descendant of Frederick Douglass, is a doctor of clinical psychology and certified school psychologist. He has built a reputation for himself exposing the financial exploitation that underlies many ADHD and learning disability diagnoses for young Black boys. He is also currently working on a documentary to expose the evils of war against Black boys and raise the much-needed funds for his dream school, the Frederick Douglass and Marcus Garvey RBG Academy for Young Men. Everybody give a round of applause and welcome Dr. Umar Johnson.
Memphis, Tennessee, man, Test, 1, 2. Welcome our Black family. Test. Am I clear in the back? Am I? Perfect, all right. Welcome Black family, thanks for coming out. It's good to be back in Memphis, Tennessee. We got a piece of paper, I gotta get rid of this gum. That's so ghetto. Thank you. All right, I want to get into my message. I've kept you long enough. First thing I want to do is I want to talk about the children, since that is my expertise. Black parents, I cannot stress to you enough how important it is, how critically important it is that you stop and think before you consent to have your child evaluated for special education services. Too many of our sons and now our daughters are being diagnosed with learning disabilities that they do not have, emotional disturbances that they do not have, math disabilities and reading disabilities that they do not have. Too many of them are being diagnosed with ADHD, ain't no daddy at home disorder. Too many of them are being diagnosed with conduct disorder. Too many are being diagnosed with oppositional defiant disorder. And subsequently, after they get the diagnosis, you're then ushering off to the psychiatrist, or the family physician, or the pediatrician to get a prescription for Ritalin, or Adderall, or Metadate, or Concerta, or Cyclur, or Prozac, or Paxil, or Depakote, or Risperdal. The side effects for all of these drugs will affect your son's mental health, will affect his organ function, can cause diabetes and tic disorders, can lead to epilepsy and cancer, and from a eugenics standpoint, can affect his ability to procreate later in life. The sad thing about special ed isn't that the white folks are doing it. The sad thing about ADHD isn't just that the white teachers are making the recommendations. The sad thing about the psychiatric medicine isn't just the side effects, but in my opinion, speaking to you as a school psychologist, I think the saddest thing about special ed and ADHD and psychiatric medication is that not a single Black child would be in special education. Not a single Black child would be diagnosed with a disruptive behavior disorder, nor would a single Black child be on psychiatric medication had it not been for a Black parent who signed their life away. I want you to understand that you get this whole process rolling. I cannot evaluate a child without your permission. I cannot diagnose a child without your permission. I cannot put a child in special education without the parents' signed permission. So when we look at the fact that we have 2 billion black children in special education, we have to also look at the fact that 2 million black parents, and some of you trifling as hell, are responsible for signing your children's lives away. Let's be honest. We can talk about racism all day, and we will. But what about the black parents' complicity in the miseducation machine? For example, if I go to your house right now, and you can answer this silently, how many of you, if I went to your house right now, Memphis, Nashville, Knoxville, if I went to your house, how many of you have a bookshelf for the children? How many of you have a dictionary in the house? How many of you have a thesaurus? How many of you have a complete set of encyclopedia, A through Z? See, there's 2 types of parents. There's old school, and then there's new school. Old school parents, if the child doesn't know the answer, they don't provide it. They make the child go find it. If they don't know how to spell the word, they don't tell them. They give them the dictionary to search it. If they don't know who Marcus Garvey was, they don't let them get on Google and pull it up. They take them to the library and make them dig it up. That's old school. But then we got new school. A lot of you are new school. And some of you old ones are new school too. You're raising shiftless, lazy, trifling as hell black children. When they don't know the answer, you give it to them. If your daughter has a book report, you don't make her do the research. You don't take her to the library. You let her get on Google. And Google Harriet Tubman, and whatever comes up, she copies, pastes it, changes the name, and now she can spell words she never saw before. In 1808, the United States government outlawed slavery in America. 1808. So how did they produce new enslaved Africans from 1808 until April of 1865, the conclusion of the Civil War? You know how? They moved from slave importation to slave manufacturing. They had something known as breeding farms. They would get 10 sisters, and they would get a big buck. And his job was to keep all the women in the house pregnant so they could produce slave children for the masses system. Well, guess what, Memphis? Some of your homes are also breeding farms for new slaves. Some of you are raising sons and daughters to do nothing else but go to jail. Do nothing else but live off of you. Do nothing else but break the law. Many of you are raising sons, and this is for the fathers. Some of you black fathers need to check your damn self. I'm getting sick and tired of going into these schools on career day. And I got 10 of them coming up. I don't care if I'm in California. I don't care if I'm in Texas. I don't care if I'm in Tennessee, Philadelphia, Brooklyn, or Chicago. When I ask the young boys, what do you want to be when you grow up? It has been the same answer for the past 20 years that I've been a psychologist. Football player, basketball player, and rapper. Because some black father has limited his son's potential to believe that the only thing he can do worthwhile is run up and down the court making white folks billions of dollars. Stop trying to live your life through your son. If you didn't make it to the NFL, that's your business and your fault. Stop trying to force that young man to be you. Let him live his own life. Parents, your most important job is to teach discipline to these children. Discipline is divine. Why do I say discipline is divine? Because God is the embodiment. Supreme consciousness is the best example of discipline. The sun rises and sets every day. Been doing it for over 1 billion years. You get 365 and a quarter days every year. Been happening for over 2 billion years. The planets continue their solar return without fail, on time, 365 days a year. God is the embodiment of discipline. The question is, are your children the embodiment of discipline? And what is the definition of discipline? And if you're raising a black boy, you need to listen in well. Discipline is the ability to teach your child how to do what he needs to do when it has to be done, whether he likes it or not. Discipline is the ability to delay gratification long enough to take care of business. But some of you have children who only do when they feel like it. Some of you have children who only do when you make them. But the problem with discipline is if you don't have it, you damn sure can't teach it. And as a former principal, I can tell you that the apple never falls far from the tree. Show me an undisciplined child, and I'm willing to bet that they learned that behavior from an undisciplined parent. Stop asking what's wrong with our children. You are what's wrong with our children. They are you. And you need to be careful how you talk to them. Because by the time your child is 15 years old, their personality is nothing more than a reflection of the dominant opinions that the adults in their lives express to them. If your daughter has low self-esteem, if she's out here thirsty, why your daughter thirsting for male attention? Because she ain't get enough from her own father. Which is ironic, fathers. Why? Because if someone was to get our daughter pregnant, we'd be the first ones looking for the young man to wring his neck. But do you realize you are often the reason your daughter got pregnant? It was your lack of attention that made her thirsty. Had you been on your job, she would have never had to find him. That's your own karma. But what I find is whether black parents are poor or whether black parents are comfortable, the children are still getting neglected. Poor children get neglected because the parents have to work more than necessary. Middle-class children get neglected because their parents care more about their careers than their children. So the trauma remains the same. Getting back to special education, I need you all to understand that none of the diagnoses we give can be scientifically verified to be accurate. I need you parents to get this. When someone tells you your daughter has a reading disability, when someone tells you your son has a math disability, when someone says your grandson has mild mental retardation, when someone says your nephew has ADHD, I need you to understand that there was no x-ray done. There was no CAT scan done. There was no MRI. There was no blood sample. There was no urine screening. That diagnosis is the result of my professional opinion based off off the information I get from his mother and the white racist teacher. ADHD is not science. ADHD is an idea. The learning disability is not science. The learning disability is an idea. My ancestor, Frederick Douglass, taught himself how to read. Under threat of death and penalty of incarceration, hundreds of our ancestors taught themselves how to read, write, and count. That was 180 years ago. So you mean to tell me that in the mid-19th century, Africans could teach themselves how to read, write, and count, but in 2016 Memphis, your child can't learn, but Frederick could learn. In 2016 Memphis, your child don't know how to count, but Frederick could learn 180 years ago on its own. The problem ain't the learning disability. The problem is your child has a lazy disability. And the problem with our children isn't that he can't learn how to read. Problem is, he's not interested in learning. It's not that your daughter can't learn algebra. It's not that she can't master her times tables. She could care less whether she mastered them or not, and she probably has a parent who doesn't make her. I get emails from parents all the time. My son is taking 5 hours to get his homework done, Dr. Umar. What do you recommend? I recommend that you put a timer on the table. You look at his math and you make an assessment on how long you think it will take him to finish. So math should be 30 minutes tonight, son. Your reading should be 45 minutes tonight, son. The science, that's only 10 minutes. I'm going to time you on each section. And then I'm going to review your work for quality. If you don't get it done on time with quality, you're going to practice more of this Saturday morning. If you don't get this done on time with quality, I'm not taking you to the basketball game because you need to practice getting your homework done on time. The reason your children are taking all night is because there's no consequences. And for my single mothers, I love you to death. And I thank you for holding down the children with this war against the black men. Brothers, give the sisters a hand for the job they did. And I want to thank you, sisters, for the excellent job because Lord knows you get blamed too much instead of getting the credit because things would be worse if you were not there. But some of you need to step your damn game up. Some of you single mothers are raising your sons to be the exact type of man you yourself would never want to marry. You say you want a responsible man, but your son is not. You want a dedicated man, but your son is not. You want a disciplined man, but your son is not. How can you want a certain type of man in your life, but yet you're creating the opposite type of son for another young lady's life? Do you realize that many of the young brothers who are messing up the sisters' lives were not trained by men but by women? Yes, sisters, the black woman is at the foundation of the black man's treatment of the black woman. Most of the young men I work with, they didn't learn negative beliefs about black women from the father in jail. It was their mother who told them not to trust black women. It was their mother who told them to look down on black women. So sisters, y'all have to look at yourself because you're raising this misogynistic little boy who's going to have no respect for females when he grows up. Speaking of that, there's a war against the black family going on in this country. It's all over television. Every reality show you see with black folks in it, what do you see? Every sister is thirsty as hell. Cannot find a husband, trifling weave. basketball wives, this wife, that wife. They are creating the image of the black woman to be this over-masculinized female who isn't desirable by any man. And then Tyler Perry hit us with his movies. Why Did I Get Married? 4 totally dysfunctional relationships. And then he came out with another one. Why Did I Get Married Again? And then he came out with the movie Something Over the Rainbow with Precious and Monique. I could barely sit through the film. They had Whoopi Goldberg running around like some crazy voodoo lady. Precious being raped by I don't know if that was her biological father, but he's sleeping with the mother, molesting her at the same time, and the mother jealous at Precious because the father wants the child more than the mother. And they gave Monique Best Supporting Oscar for that filth. And then it got worse when Scandal came out. The #1 show for black women in the country is a show where the black woman plays the bed wench to the President of the United States. With all due respect, black woman, I thought we'd been there already. I thought you did that with Thomas Jefferson already. I thought you did that with George Washington already. All these white presidents that raped your grandparents, raped my grandparents, and now you want to see it dramatized all over again in your lifetime. That's why I always say, you can take the slave out of slavery all you want, but until the slave takes the slavery out of himself, he will never be free. And let me be clear, because most of you in here are what is generally considered to be conscious. Let's talk about this thing called black consciousness. It ain't nothing but another religion. And you don't do anything more for black folks than the church does. The church has a Bible and a cross, and you got incense and shea butter. Same shit. You so damn smart. You done read all the books. You done been to Africa 50 times, changed your name, Sekhmet Aguned Ra. Got your Halloween costume on, looking like King Jofi Jafar of Zamunda. You conscious. Well, let me explain something to you about consciousness. When someone comes to psychotherapy, my job is to make them conscious about their depression, conscious about their cigarette addiction, conscious about their low self-esteem, conscious about their borderline or their bipolar, conscious about their anxiety problems. But does making you conscious about the fact that you're addicted to marijuana, does it change the addiction? Being conscious that you are depressed, does it change the depression? You need to be conscious in order to solve your depression, but the consciousness by itself changes nothing. So what are you saying, Dr. Umar, I should read and study? I'm not saying that. We need you to be educated. but the information exists to serve the work. And if you're not going to struggle, then what is the use of study? We have confused the means with the goal. The means is to come out from under white supremacy. That's the goal. The study is to prepare you for that. You got a test coming up. You study for the test so you can perform well. But we got a reality in America today where brothers don't want to change nothing, but they want to know everything. So when you say, brother, we're about to go march, one of our youth got shot by the police, God forbid, we're going to go march on the police station. And guess what he going to say? Hold on, brother. I just bought 10 books, brother. I got to finish reading these books before I come and help you. See, brother, what you need to understand is we ain't even got to fight the cops, brother. All we got to do is wait because the mothership coming, brother, and take us back. Now, brother, what you need to do is just change your diet, and once you get off that meat and raise your vibration, white folks will leave you alone, brother. That's what I refer to as intellectual masturbation. People who want to sit around all day long and philosophize, intellectualize, and talk about our problems. You notice how the one who has all the solutions does no damn work. Have you noticed that? He's so damn smart. He's too smart to do any work. How many of you been to meetings to get something done? And the meeting was co-opted by two oversized male Negro egos. And the meeting to get something done got turned into a damn intellectual masturbation session. And you do know you can't have a Negro without the ego, because the ego is the root word in Negro. And black men, we got to get our egos under control. This is why we got black on black violence, physical and non-physical. Because every black man wants to be the chief. Why do you want to be in control so much? Let me tell you why. It's a direct outgrowth of your oppression. Black men are not allowed to be men. You're not allowed to stand up to the police. You're not allowed to stand up to the judge. You're not allowed to compete on Wall Street. You're not allowed to compete in business, not fairly. You've been psychologically castrated. So what do psychologically castrated men do? They try to exert their masculinity over other psychologically castrated males. That's the black man's problem. You're never allowed to be a man nowhere except at home, the church, and the community organization. And that's why you run the church like your own personal business. And you run the community organization like your own personal business, because your ego demands satisfaction. And the only way you can satisfy your inferiority complex is to exert control over other emasculated egos. But the problem now is America done remixed the black male ego, and he done gave the black woman a male's ego. Don't start shaking now. Not all sisters, but some of you have drank the white feminist movement's Kool-Aid. And you elect these universities. And some of you say, well, I'm a feminist, but I don't deal with white folks. Why do you keep saying? The feminist movement came from white folks. You ain't got to have no white folks there. You're using their brain product. They are already there. The white woman stood up against the white man, and I understood why. The beginning of the 20th century, but going back to the 18th century. The white man didn't let the white woman vote. The white man told the white woman, you can't come outside. The white man told the white woman, you cannot wear pants. The white man told the white woman, come nowhere near the religious institution on your monthly. He told her, your job is to cook and have the babies. The white woman said, this is not fair. See, we never had that problem in African culture because our civilization is based on the divine balance and complementarity of opposites. So the black man would never try to strip the black woman of her right to think and speak and vote because he knows he cannot exist without her. We understand we were created by supreme consciousness with the need for the opposite energy. But the white man never had that. His whole culture was based on female suppression. In fact, he hated the woman so much that he considered it righteous for a man to lay with another man instead of laying with a woman. Because you, my sister, were considered the handmaiden of the devil. Because after all, it was you who tricked Adam into eating that apple. This is why Roman Catholic priests do not get married. Because the woman is unclean and unholy. Homosexuality was born on anti-womanism. So I understood the white woman's struggle. But then the white woman told the black woman, come on in, sister, and help us fight against this male chauvinistic systematic oppression. And the black woman wanted to be a part of something white because we love white folks. All of us, every last one of you shea butter people in here love crackers to death. I don't give a damn how many incense you got, how many books you got, you love white people. Every last one of your asses. Okay? And you gotta admit that to yourself. Because part of the therapeutic process is admitting your deficiency so you can heal it. Until you admit that you love white folks more than you love your damn self, you'll never stop loving. Because there was no admission to the spirit. But here's the problem, black woman. When you became a feminist, pointing to the black man as the source of your issue, I have to ask you a question. Feminism is fighting against systematic male oppression. There's a problem. In America, the black woman makes more than the black man. In America, the black woman on average has more education than the black man. So sister, my question to you feminists is, if you're fighting against systematic black male oppression against black women, you're going to have to show me an institution that black men control through which we can systematically disadvantage you. Do black men control you getting hired? Do we control whether you go to college? Do black men control the criminal justice system? So if you're fighting against black male systematic oppression, what the hell are you fighting? Because we don't own the damn system. You want to be friends with the white woman. This is your new sisterhood. There's only one problem. Who was the black woman's main problem in slavery? Who made the white man sell off your babies that he raped you with to prove that he didn't love them kids more than his white ones? Who made the master beat you almost to death to prove there was no emotional bond with you? The white woman had him sell your children. The white woman had him beat you to death. And you got the nerve 180 years later to say that this is your white sister. You better understand the first rule of racism. The first rule of racism is all white people are racist. Now some of y'all scratching and shit, so I'm gonna go deeper. We're right over here. You got white co-workers who you think you can trust. Let me tell you why you don't understand racism. Listen to me, Tennessee. Stop confusing your personal relationship with white people with the business of white supremacy. I want to give you an example. I once knew a sister who had a white best friend. They lived next door to each other. They went to the same elementary school, daycare. Went to the same college. They were roommates. Her mother knew her mother. Birthday parties were held together. They even got married at the same time. They went through college together. Began working at the same job together. But then the sister went back and got her master's degree. The white girl didn't. The sister was a little more driven than her white so-called best friend. So the white girl found out that there was a new managerial position that had become available in their organization. You would think, being a black woman's best friend, that she would run and go tell Shaquita, Shaquita, there's a new job coming up. You might want to go for it. Do you think Mary Ellen told Shaquita that shit? Guess what Mary Ellen did? Mary Ellen went and found a white girl who she did not even know and told the white girl about the managerial position. The white girl ended up getting the job. When Shaquita found out, and I'm not using the real name, when Shaquita found out, she was heartbroken. She went to Mary Ellen and said, I knew you since I was 3 years old. Why would you go and get a white person who you don't even know to take a job that you know I was qualified for? And Mary Ellen never gave her an answer, so Shaquita emailed Dr. Umar. And I said, Shaquita, you don't understand white supremacy. Your personal relationship with Mary Ellen is just that, personal. Y'all loan each other money, y'all get married together, y'all go out to eat together, all that's personal. That's not business. Mary Ellen, despite being your so-called best friend, has an obligation to white people to make sure they stay in control. Dr. Johnson, do you believe we should hate white folk? Not at all. You've been hating white folk for 400 years. It ain't changed shit. Stop hating and start studying them. What does Sun Tzu say in the Art of War? Who was African, by the way. He said, if you know yourself and don't know your enemy, you got a 50% chance of winning the war. If you know the enemy and don't know yourself, you also have a 50% chance of winning the war. If you don't know either yourself nor your enemy, defeat is guaranteed. But he said, if you know yourself and know your enemy, in a million battles, you can never be subdued. That means you don't just read the black books, you got to read the white ones too. You got to know how he's thinking because he studies you. How do you think the Chinese come into Memphis and be here 2 weeks and open up 10 stop and goes? They study you. How do the Jews come in with their insurance companies and 401k plans and make all that money off black folks? They study you. So you mean to tell me you let your enemy study you, but you don't study your enemy? But there's a problem, family, when you are in love with your abuser. When you are in love with your abuser. When a woman is being physically abused by a man, God forbid, the abuse distorts her perception of reality, and she cannot see him for who he is because the abuse has warped her reasoning skills. That's black America and white America. You are the battered spouse of white America, who will not leave no matter how bad you get treated, who will not end the relationship no matter how many of your children get murdered by his police. Do you know why you loved Obama so much? Played a part. And he got good hair and shit. That played a part. What y'all call good hair. The reason you loved Obama is because white folks accepted him like they never accepted a black person before. It wasn't Obama. It was what he represented. He represented your dream of finally being accepted by your slave master. That's why you celebrate the first black this and the first black that and the first, y'all go to hell crazy, the first black this. Why y'all celebrating the first black this? Because it means white folks are starting to accept us. Now the United States Department of the Treasury is about to put Queen Mother Harriet on the front of the $20 bill. Niggas is going crazy. Y'all going crazy. This is bigger than Obama. They're going to put Dr. King and Marian Anderson on a $5 bill. All these black faces on money, but you can't have none of it. Oh, you do know your biggest problem in America. What is the biggest problem racism has created? It has cut off our ability to access wealth in large quantities so we can resurrect our community from within. Why is it the Chinese got 10 stop and goes, he only been here a month? The East Indians got 2 hotels, they only been here 3 weeks. The Arabs have popped off 10 gas stations, been here 72 hours. And then the white man comes and say, the problem with Memphis and Nashville and Knoxville is y'all lazy. How y'all let Chinese come and do better? How y'all let Arabs come? Y'all been here 500 years. There's no excuse. And if you don't understand racism, if you don't understand the details, you will fall for that propaganda. Let me tell you why they do better than you. Because when the Chinese got off the boat, and when the Arab got off the plane, and when the East Indian got off the train, and when the Chinaman landed, he landed at Memphis Airport with a line of credit from the Bank of China. He landed at Memphis Airport with a line of credit from the Bank of Dubai, the Bank of India. They show up with $10 million lines of credit, and they can go to work in your neighborhood overnight. But when you go to Chase Manhattan, when you go to Wells Fargo, when you go to the Bank of America and say, listen, I'm going to open up a school, I'm going to open up a hospital, I'm going to open up a gas station, you get denied. Because you cannot control black folks unless you control their access to wealth. That's how they get you. See, we got to get away from that civil right and get into the civil rights. It is financial opportunity that we need. The only reason why they fought to desegregate the public schools is because the black schools couldn't access the wealth. The reason the HBCUs are struggling and the white schools are doing good is because the HBCUs can't access the wealth. Every last one of you in here has a business idea that could probably make you a millionaire. But you got one problem. You cannot access the wealth you need to grow your idea. That is the racism. See, let's be clear. If you really want to make America fair for black folks, if you really want to make America fair for black folks, you don't put Harriet on the 20. You don't give Dr. King a statue. You don't put Obama in the White House. You know what you got to do, right? If it was African people who laid the foundation for America's wealth, the only way to give African people a fair and impartial opportunity to create is to take all the wealth of America back and redistribute it so we all get our rightful share of the pie. That's the only way you fix this. But the white man slick. Guess what he did? Instead of giving you wealth, he gave you access to college. Raise your hand if you got a bachelor's degree. Look at all this education we got. Raise your hand if you got a master's. Keep them up. Bachelor's and masters. Keep them up. If you got a bachelor's or a master's, if you got an associate's degree, raise your hand. Keep them up. If you got a doctorate, raise your hand. Look at all this education we got in this room. Now put your hands down, and guess what? We all broke as hell. Get your associates, you go back. Here you go, sir. I'm sorry, but you're still a little underqualified. There's a couple classes. Okay, let me get my bachelor's. Tennessee State, this, come back. Sorry, sir, there's still something lacking in your vitae. So you go back, get your first master's degree. Like, I know I'm ready now. I'm sorry, but they changed the requirements for this position. So you say, you know what? I'm gonna fix his white ass. I'm gonna get a doctorate. Magna cum laude, summa cum laude. Come back, I know I'm ready now. I got associates, a bachelor's, a master's, and a doctor. Ain't nothing higher than that. Sir, oh my God. I did not know you were going to get that much education. First you were underqualified. Now you... How about they wasn't going to hire your black ass anyway? Let me tell you what the white man did. Dr. King is murdered in Memphis, April 4th, 1968. White man says, okay, we got to do something about this because black folks want a piece of the pie, but we don't really give them no power, but we got to make it look like we're giving them access to it. So what we're going to do is we're going to tear down the walls of segregation at the colleges, and we're going to come up with the Pell Grant, so now they can get loans to go learn. And so then they sent all the black folks to college. Listen! From the 60s to now, look at all the college degrees we got. But instead of sending their kids to college, they sent them to real estate school. Instead of sending all their kids to college, they sent their kids to learn Wall Street. Instead of sending their kids to college, they made them go and apprentice under a master of business who already had his own industry so they could learn how money really works. They gave you the degrees and they kept the damn dollars. And y'all parents in here, y'all better be very careful about sending your children to college without a good reason. Because the only thing college is doing for black folks is putting us in lifelong debt to the base of America in the name of student loans. You want to send your son to Tennessee State or University of Tennessee? Well, I was February. I'm surprised they let me come in. I was waiting for the disinvite. Your son goes to the University of Tennessee and gets a PhD, magna cum laude, doctorate in grasshopper reproduction on the moon during the summer season. He comes back to Memphis, big ass degree, cap gown, top of his class, valedictorian, and can't find a damn job because mommy and daddy let their son run off to school majoring in something that is totally irrelevant. Y'all have to pick your children's college degrees with them. You don't spend $30,000 a year for him to get a degree in art history. He can do that shit at the free library with a card. us to study medieval Renaissance literature of Europe. Give her ass a public card, please. Listen, if your child is going to college, you must make sure they major in something that is economically relevant so they can pay off that damn loan when they get out. In fact, if it was up to me, before our children go to college, every last one of them would have to get a 2-year trades degree. You know why? See, let me tell you what we did post-civil rights. We said, I'm not being no plumber no more because that's all I was ever allowed to be. I'm not going to be no bricklayer no more because that's all I was ever allowed to be. I'm not fixing no more automobiles, no more leaky roofs, because that's all I was ever allowed to be. And when you put down those tools and pick up the degree, you gave the white man a monopoly on the building trade industry. So when you ride down Memphis today, when you go downtown, who do you see working building them new buildings, in hotels, in government complexes? White labor, Chinese labor, Mexican labor. Oh, and by the way, for my multicultural shea butter audience, I want you to know that the Mexicans are not here to work with you. They are here to replace your ass. Somebody said we need a Latino-Black coalition. First of all, what is a Hispanic in the first place? Last time I checked, before 1970, Spanish-speaking Africans from Cuba and Puerto Rico, and my great-grandfather happened to be one of them, were considered black like the rest of us. But the problem was, when those Spanish-speaking Africans came from the Caribbean, they didn't want to be associated with you. So they would circle on the application that they were white people. Black as shit with a nappy head, saying, I'm white. And the white man said, oh, hell no. You are not white. And the Latino said, well, we don't want to be with the blacks. And the white man said, I understand. I don't want to be with them either. But biologically, that's who you are. But this is what we're going to do, because we can use this to our advantage. We want to give you a name. And so they invented the word Hispanic. The word Hispanic is not a Latino word. That's the United States government word. To take blacks who don't want to be black and give them another title. But I'm not just going to pick on my Spanish-speaking pseudo-Africans. I'm going to talk about some of you Negroes in here. In the year 2000, they changed the census and added biracial. And some of you Negroes in this room lost your mind. You start looking for white grandparents and shit, shaking your family tree. I'm half Italian, I got 1/8 Spanish, I'm 1/24 Portuguese. I had a brother come to me talk about he biracial, looking like Kuta Kinte, poor nappy, 100% grade African hair, biracial. Because you hate being black. And then in 2010, they gave you multiracial. Damn. So if you didn't have a white mother or white father, you could still disidentify from your Africanity by claiming multiracial. Why is the white man giving black people all these names? Why is he letting you call yourself Hispanic instead of black? Why is he letting you call yourself biracial instead of black? Why is he letting you identify as multiracial instead of black? You know why? It's called divide and conquer, separate and rule. The best way to destroy a people is to kill the unity within the community. Don't you know, the more they give you these labels, the amount of African Americans in America begin to decline? Not because of number, but because of name. How much you want to bet in 2020 they're going to give you another name? Further reducing the number. Why? Because if I can exterminate blackness as an idea, I could damn sure exterminate black people. Y'all better learn how to be unapologetically African. I was teaching in a high school, and I was talking about the biracialism of self-hatred. And this chocolate princess jumped up, beautiful little sister. And she said, Dr. Johnson, you don't know what you're talking about. Look at my hair. I got Indian in my family. I said, listen to me well, princess. Your ass got weave and perm in your family. If you don't sit your ass down in my class. I know a weave when I see one. I went to barber in school. Don't you realize that in Africa, there's different phenotypes? Everybody ain't got a broad nose like us or big lips or nappy hair. In East Africa, you got African folks with that thin, fine hair. Never been touched by the white man. With small noses and small lips and blue, black, jet black chocolate skin. But whenever you see an African with a curl, it must be native. Whenever you see an African with a small nose, oh, they must got white in their family. We come in every phenotype under the sun, which is why I don't understand why you black male Negroes keep dealing with these trifling-ass white women in Tennessee. Outside of my race, and I never will. And I'm not knocking any of you who did, as long as you came on back to black permanently. But I got a problem with the fact that since the Loving versus Virginia United States Supreme Court decision in the 1969-68, the Supreme Court removed the last remaining anti-miscegenation marriage laws in America. From 68 until 2016, that's almost 50 years, black men have married outside of your race more than the men of every other culture in America put together. Nigga, please. You're going to convince me that love ain't got no color and you can't help who you fall in love with when you seem to be the only man in America who can't help but help himself to a white woman. I don't hate white women. I'm not against them at all. I help white mothers with their kids too. They won't tell you that shit, but I do. They call me up, white folks call me up, oh yes they do, on the low. Yeah. Come over to their house to test their kids. They got a nice hot bottle of shea butter for me and shit. Listen. I'm not against the white woman, but I'm loyal to the black woman. Because that's the one I come from. Listen, black man. I know the black woman ain't perfect. I know. Get on her nerves, she'll put your business in the street, trust me. If the birthday gift ain't sufficient, she will sell your social at tax time. Mess with her. But I also understand that no woman can cry your cry or understand your struggle like that one. And if the black woman was good enough for you in slavery, she should be good enough for you now. And if the black woman was good enough for you in civil rights, she should be good enough for you now. And if the black woman was good enough for 400 years, she should be good enough for you now. Because after all, black do not cry. But porcelain does. See, when they said 30 is the new 40, they were talking about black women. Because she got that melanin, she got that collagen. Sometimes you don't even know a sister's age until you really get up in her face because they look so good. But when you're dealing with Peggy Smith, two kids and those hips will spread and that chin will hang. And whereas they say 30 is the new 40 for black women, they say 100 is the new 30 for white women. So you better be careful. And then you have biracial children, who I consider my brothers. In Pan-Africanism, if you biracial, you black, because there's no such thing as a 50-50 split. You don't take 23 African dominant chromosomes and marry them to 23 European recessive chromosomes and get a half white baby. After that shit mix, ain't no white left. So you biracials need to understand that your ass is black. I'm half white. If you put a half a cup of chocolate milk with a half a cup of skim milk, is the shit half white? It's chocolate now, damn it. But the problem is some of our biracials ain't ready to be African all day. And I'm not going to fault y'all, because many of y'all was raised by white mothers whose racism didn't allow them to admit to themselves that they gave birth to an African. So they raised their half-black kids thinking they not black. And that's the worst thing you can do, to raise a biracial African to believe they somehow in the middle. Because white folks don't do middles. In America, you either black or white. That's it. In fact, they got a one-drop rule for your ass. You can look stone cold cracker and be Negro on the paper. But black men, we got to recommit ourselves to our women. I don't understand what y'all see in other women. The black woman got the shape. Good God Almighty. And this is the South. The damn jeans! Peggy Smith can't wear no jeans like that. She's straight flat, pow. No shape and none of that. Black woman know how to cook that food. Little jerk sauce, know what I mean? Hook that up, little scrimp, skimp. Black woman will go in the cabinet when you think ain't no food in the house and come out with a gourmet meal. Like, where the hell you get this? We ain't had no damn food. That's the divinity of the black woman. But Peggy Sue will make you a turkey and cheese sandwich. And the mayonnaise be 3 inches thick. Black parents, understand you can say no to the evaluation. The school says, Miss Smith, we would like to evaluate Tyrone because he's in the 5th grade and Tyrone is only reading on the 2nd grade level. Can you sign here so our white psychologist can see if he has a learning disability? No, I cannot. Well, can you explain why? Because he's 3 grade levels behind and we don't want him to fall any further. And you know what you're going to say? You're going to say, let me tell you why Tyrone can't read on the 5th grade level. Last year when he was in the 4th grade, he got suspended from school so much he wasn't allowed in the classroom long enough to learn how to read. In 3rd grade, my Tyrone had a first-year white teacher. University of Tennessee could barely read her damn self. 2nd grade, Tyrone's teacher went out on maternity leave and my son had 10 substitutes from Thanksgiving to June. You think you want to put my son in special ed? You better get the hell up out of my face. But let me tell you what you can do, since you brought it up. Doesn't your school get Title I money from the federal government to raise the reading and math skills of black children in poverty? How about you take some of that money and hire my Tyrone a tutor who can work with him 2 or 3 days a week? Special education is so crazy that some special ed classrooms have more children than the regular classrooms. Did you know that special education is so crazy that I've evaluated special ed kids who have higher skill levels than the regular children? And do you want to know why that is? Quiet down back there, fellas. You know why that is? Because your child wasn't put in special ed for reading problems. That white woman threw that boy in special ed with your signature because he didn't know how to behave. Now here's the irony. It is illegal. It is illegal. It is illegal to put a child in special ed for behavior. But how much you want to bet if I go through these Memphis schools, half your kids in special ed ain't got a problem reading, writing, or counting. They're simply there because they were black. And let me be clear. Let me be clear. The black boy's problem is not his problem. He's not the one with the problem. See, the black boy is twice discriminated against. First, he gets discriminated against because he's black. And then he gets discriminated against because he's male. Why you say that, Dr. Umar? Because 97% of America's teachers are middle-class white women. See, the problem ain't learning. The problem is learning from her. And why do you say it? A white teacher can teach like a black teacher, maybe so, but you better realize something. You cannot teach somebody you don't like. And a child can't learn from somebody they don't trust. And that's why we're going to build the Frederick Douglass and Marcus Garvey RPG International Leadership Academy. And some of my contemporaries are jealous of the fact that y'all helped me raise $700,000 so far. And some of them are jealous of my 6 degrees and jealous that I'm the most requested black scholar on the planet and that I'm cuter than them. And I'm swagalicious with my degrees. But we gonna build that school, y'all. I promise you that. I don't know where it's gonna be, but I do know it's coming. We still want St. Paul's College. The HBCU down in Virginia that closed down 3 years ago, they still trying to sell it for $2 million. I don't know why. The school been sitting there empty for 3 years, which means the quality of the upkeep is dropping, which means the value of the campus is low. So let me tell you what I plan on doing. When we cross the $1 million mark, probably around the end of the summer, I'm gonna go back to St. Paul's and give them an ultimatum and say, listen, I got $1 million. Y'all know damn well that I'm gonna have to put another $1 million back into this campus because y'all let it go to hell. And if they don't accept that, I'm gonna move on. But I did get an email from a traditional ruler in Ghana, an African king, who copied me on an email to the Secretary of Education in Ghana. So I have to meet with the Secretary of Education in Ghana because they are interested in exploring the possibility of putting FDMG #1 in Ghana. Now some of you want to say, how is my son going to learn at a school in Ghana? The same way your ass go play the lottery, you drive. We're going to charter a flight, because you do know we got black-owned airlines, right? And we will charter a flight one way from America to Ghana. And guess what? If the school is in Africa, do you realize I would only have to charge you half of what it would cost if the school was in America? You will save 50% on tuition if the school is in Africa. Stop watching CNN. Everybody ain't fighting in Africa. And I can guarantee you that Tyrone, Ray, and Pookie will be much better served by a school back home than this shit in Memphis. And I can guarantee you one thing. I guarantee you'll never get a phone call from me talking about he was murdered by a white police officer in Africa. And I'm not going to leave out your daughters. After we open up the Fred Douglass Marcus Garvey, we got to open up the Anna Douglas Amy Garvey Princess Academy. But guess what, mothers? I need to give you a little warning. My Princess Academy will be a happy to be nappy institution. I'm talking to a Garvey out here, Pan-Africanist. I bleed red, black, and green. That means when your daughter shows up at my school, she must show up with her own hair. There will be no weave, no wig, no perm, no straightening comb, no blonde extensions or hair color, and no jerry curls, because I heard they coming back in Memphis, no jerry curls. Now I know one of the feminist sisters are going to say, there you go with that male chauvinism. That's not male chauvinism. I'm a psychologist. Do you realize the #1 war against black girls is for the concept of beauty? Do you realize that our daughters hurt more than any other child by virtue of a destroyed self-esteem because they want to look like white girls? Before I teach your daughter anything else, I got to teach her to love herself. I did not say that the mothers had to go natural, because if I did, I would have no female students. I wouldn't do that for you, because you grew up with me. And in our generation, looking white was right. So I'm not knocking you. But I think we can all agree that you want better for your daughter. But if you want to work at my school, ladies and gentlemen, send me your resume. FDMG resumes with an S at gmail.com. We need science and math and English and social studies, but I also need black women who know how to do natural hair, because we're going to teach the girls to do natural hair. And I need brothers and sisters who can do raw and vegan food preparation, because our school will be 80% raw and vegan diet. I didn't say 100%. Some of you vegetarians is a little extreme with that shit. Every once in a while, I need a damn steak. Damn that. Damn greens every night. Losing all that weight, big ass head, skinny body. I got a big head, I don't look right skinny, so I'm not doing that. Okay? Vegetarians, they crazy. They be at the airport waiting for me. Wait a minute,
brother. We understand all that Dr. Umar shit don't mean nothing to me, thing. Are you vegan yet, brother? Have you detoxed your system, my brother? Because until you stop eating meat, motherfucker, you's a sellout. I got the duck in the airport from the vegan mafia. They be looking for me. 80%. If you want your child to be 100%, we will respect that. But I don't want a whole school full of skinny ass kids because they don't want none of the food. So let's keep it gangster. All right? I need people who know how to fix cars. I need women who have their midwifery license because we're going to teach the high school girls how to deliver babies in high school. Because I think there's something wrong when the first experience of an African child is to come into this world and see the eyes of their oppressor. Do you realize that most of us in this room, including me, the first thing we saw when we came from heaven was the devil? And you wonder why our kids be screaming and shit on the delivery table? I just got here. Goddamn, I gotta pay taxes already. I just got here. So we want to have that doula program. We're going to teach military science. Oh, hell yeah. Our sons and our daughters, responsible handling of weapons. And we're going to be serious about this because you got to underline responsible. We're going to teach them how to fight with guns and with knives, with their bare hands, because tomorrow not promised. And we're going to teach them political science. Why was Barack Obama elected president? Was it an act of God or an act of Satan? Why is AIDS the #1 killer of black women on the face of the earth? Hold on. In 1980, they said AIDS was a homosexual white male disease. How does a homosexual white male disease become the leading cause of death for middle-aged black women? And then they tell you today, they still say AIDS came from a monkey. In Africa. This is the shit y'all believe. They say that AIDS got into the black woman in the Congo from a monkey. But they don't know how the black woman got the AIDS. There's only two ways. She either ate monkey meat or she twerked with the monkey. The shit white folks say. Man, did y'all read the news 2 days ago? They're talking about Atlanta, Georgia. One of my favorite places. Highest AIDS rate, not number, but percentage, demographic, in the country. Wait. Is it possible that the United States government engineered this whole Atlanta as the future black city to draw blacks in? And then they homosexualized Atlanta, that it is the top black male gay city. And I'm wondering, just wondering, is it possible that the fact that the Center for Disease Control is headquartered in Atlanta, is that a coincidence? Oh, we know where AIDS come from. Same place they made Ebola, West Nile. No, the shit ain't Zika, it's Shanika disease. They just caught that shit as Shanika. They made it for you. Listen, the Rockefeller family paid the money to the United States Army Biological Weapons Lab in Fort Detrick, Maryland. It's still there. You can drive by it. Now let me ask you a question. You ain't got to be a political scientist. If you see something that says United States Army Biological Weapons Lab, whose biology are they making weapons for? You think that shit is for bug spray? Roaches? Who do you think they making diseases for? Your ass. And some of you are Hillary Clinton junkies. And let me tell you about Hillary. Guess who is the #1 popular population control junkie in the country, Hillary Clinton. This woman is for abortion, hysterectomy. She gives all kind of money to Africa to pay black women to get their insides removed. And this who you want to be president of the U.S. Listen, first of all, you don't choose the president. I'm getting tired of this schizophrenia that y'all Negroes keep on. Every 8 years, y'all get a psychotic disorder. Every 8 years, Negroes go psychotic. You've never got nothing from a presidential election in 44 presidents, and yet you still hopeful. It don't matter if it's Trump or Hillary. The agenda for black folk is the same. So what are you saying, Dr. Umar? We shouldn't vote? I'm saying that when you vote for the governor, the mayor, your state rep, U.S. rep, state senator, U.S. senator, alderman, council person, it's a direct proxy. There's no middleman. The presidency was never designed for the people to choose it. America is not a democracy. It is a republic. And that's why for you trifling parents who let your children pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic, not democracy. Do you know the word democracy isn't even in the Constitution? The word democracy isn't in the preamble. The word democracy isn't in the Bill of Rights. The word democracy isn't in any of the 50 state constitutions. This ain't no damn democracy. It's a two-party dictatorship operated through the illusion of inclusion. The only thing you choose is who you want to be your slave master. You're not allowed to vote yourself out of slavery, but you can choose who delivers the whip. Voting can work for black folks as a strategy if y'all organize. First of all, you'll never get nothing until you get out of the Democratic Party and get out of the Republican Party and build a black Memphis, not party. You don't need a party. You need a political union of votes. And then you meet with the Democrats and you meet with the Republicans and the Green Party and you ask them, what are you going to get for these 250,000 black votes? And you give your votes to the highest bidder and you remind them that the same $250,000 that got you in will get your ass out. See, you can get what you want, but because you love white folks, you never even thought about starting your own political union. Republicans don't pay you no mind because they know you're not voting. Democrats don't pay you no mind because they know they got your vote. You don't mean shit to nobody. And y'all keep listening to Negroes on TV making you think black people doing better because some token has been able to achieve his lifelong ambitions. You don't judge the condition of a people off of one person. You judge the condition of the people based on the general predicament of its citizens. Speaking of that, then we'll begin to wound down, because I know I got a lot of pictures to take and books to sign. But I want to say this. You have to do something about the black bourgeoisie in Memphis. Your problem is the gatekeeping, elitist, bougie, coon, Illuminati crew. Now let me tell you about the Memphis coon Illuminati. And some of them are probably here now. Families in the black bourgeoisie in Memphis. I don't have to live here, but I know y'all have them because it's the same everywhere. White supremacy controls black people through the gatekeepers. Gatekeeper number one the higher education bourgeois Negro. These are the blacks who work in your public school systems, your community colleges, your major universities, and yes, your HBCUs. And their job is to do what? Blame you, the victim, for what's done to you by white folks. So they'll go to the bourgeois Negroes in education and say, why is only one black boy getting a degree for every 4? Why does Memphis have one of the lowest black male graduation rates in America? Instead of them saying, white racist teachers, they're going to say, they listen to too much rap. The dad's in jail. The mother's not married. Well, guess what? I can take you to Kobe Bryant School District, Lower Merion, where I was an expert witness in a class action lawsuit with a Lower Merion School District where Kobe went to high school. The high school was putting black kids in special ed who didn't even need it, whose mothers was doctors and lawyers. So don't think just because you're poor and black, the rich blacks catch the same shit. Because the black man ain't against your degrees, he's against your genotype. He wants to get rid of you. That's the situation. And then you got the status Negro in Memphis. Who's the status Negro? Negro with a whole bunch of business cards. You ever see these people? Here you go, brother, take one, brother, take two, brother, in case it rains, brother, take two. The status Negro is a Negro with a long title, but no power. You say, how you doing, brother? Yes, my brother, my name is, I'm Dr. Williams, and I'm the Senior Assistant Vice Undersecretary to the temporarily appointed custodial, might get elected, subordinate assistant vice chair for trash collection in Memphis. Negroes with all these titles but can't get nothing done. And when you go to them, hey, brother, we want to get the lotto with it. We want to turn that into a community garden. You know what he said? I'm sorry, brother, that's not under my jurisdiction no more. You got to go see the mayor. You go to the mayor. He got a Negro in there with a long name. Senior Assistant Vice Deputy Undersecretary temporarily appointed by... Brother, we need the lot. I'm sorry, but that was transferred from my office to the Interior office. You go to the Interior. Brother! I'm sorry, but they removed that from my jury. You done went to 10 Negroes with 20 titles and 50,000 business cards. And not one of them could do anything for you. And then you got the economic bourgeois of Memphis, black people who got a lot of money, but they don't spend it on you. Hillary got a donation. Bernie Sanders got a donation. Hell, Trump could get a donation. Tsunami victims in Asia could get a donation. But grandma got a summer camp for black kids. You think they gave her a donation? And then you got entertainment bourgeois. Negroes in Memphis with radio shows and TV shows and magazines and newspapers and websites, and they never talk about the right thing. They spend all the time talking about Beyonce's Lemonade video or Jay-Z's upcoming or the Memphis Grizzlies is going to have the 5th pick in the upcoming NBA draft. What the fuck they got to do with me? And who's the worst family of the bourgeoisie? The religious bourgeoisie. Black church for sale. Now let me clarify, because I know we got some born-again Christians. I have no problem with your religion. I'm not talking about your religion. I'm talking about con artists who you let hustle in the name of your religion. Reverend Hoop and Holler, Pastor Pork Chop, Deacon Drumstick. Negroes who come before you every Sunday. Y'all gonna be there tomorrow? Amazing grace, how sweet. And you do know it's a slave master who wrote that shit, right? The most popular song in the black church was written by a slave master. I'll be damned. With a white Jesus up there. Amazing. My problem with the church is they take too much of your money and give so little in return. be so preoccupied with heaven, but you have no problem with your congregation existing in hell. Do y'all have mega churches in Memphis? How do you take out a $10 million mortgage? A $10 million mortgage with a white bank, but you don't produce any jobs. You don't have a manufacturing sector. So if you got a $10 million mortgage and you don't produce any jobs, which means you don't have an income, you're relying on poor black people to pay off that damn loan. And then it gets worse. Because when you go to church tomorrow and he takes the collection, let's say you give him $50,000 on Sunday, more for the megachurch. He gonna take that to Wells Fargo, Chase Manhattan, the white bank. Look at this. Black people's Jesus money goes into a white bank, and the white bank will write a loan to a white developer to come into the ghettos of Memphis and buy up all the abandoned homes, lots, raise the property value, and force your ass out of your own neighborhood. And guess what? They did it with your money. So Dr. Johnson, you trying to tell me that the black church is responsible for gentrification? You damn right. Isn't it funny that the same church grandma belongs to is the same church that put grandma out on the street? Y'all should make your churches. You should tell them all, we never coming back ever again until y'all open up a black bank. Every church should have a black bank, or churches can come together and build a black bank. Y'all keep talking about support black businesses. Okay, let's say we do that. Let's say everybody in this audience never buys from a white man again tomorrow. Guess what? You still benefiting white supremacy. You know why? Because all the black businesses got their money in white banks. So guess what? The white man can live off the interest from the deposit and still make more than you off of your own Black Wall Street. A minute ago, I talked about the war against the black family. There's a show out called Empire. #1 show. Broke all kind of records. Even white people watch Empire. Now, y'all think TV is entertainment. TV is political programming. Listen, Lucius Lyon, Andre, Hakeem, Jamal, 4 black men in the same #1 miniseries. Let's look at them closely. Lucius, narcissistic, power-hungry, black male, hates his baby mama. Hakeem, his youngest son, hyper-masculine, wannabe thug, uses women and discards them. Andre, bougie-ass Ivy League, married to a white woman. And Jamal, homosexual in love with a white man. How can you have 4 men in the same mini-series and not a single one has a positive relationship with a black woman? They didn't make Empire for you. They made Empire for them. They made Empire for the babies. You know better, but your 13-year-old don't. Is she watching Empire? You know better, but your 12-year-old don't. Is he watching Scandal? If you're not going to supervise the television, it'd be better you throw this shit out. In conclusion, the last thing I want to talk about is Willie Lynch. Let me get a swig real quick. And we're going to end on Willie Lynch. Willie Lynch came to America to teach the slave masters how to control their slaves. Willie Lynch gave the slave masters several strategies to use to control their African population. I'm going to focus on only 3 for the sake of time. Now, some of you intellectual masturbators want to talk about the fact that Willie Lynch never lived. That might be true. It doesn't matter to me whether Willie Lynch existed or not. The science of the letter is 100% accurate. Now, strategy number 1. I got good water in Memphis. I hope it ain't GMO though. Because you know Whole Foods is playing a game on black folks. You heard? Whole Foods got busted for selling GMO. God damn. I knew some shit was up. Let me tell you what happened to me. I went to Whole Foods for lunch in Philly, right? I was the school psychologist for the Youth Detention Center in Philly, where they sent all the bad boys. I goes to the Whole Foods for lunch, right? I go over there looking for some snacks. I see a big sign. It says, sale, $1.99 a pound. Organic, seedless watermelons. Organic and seedless? If the shit ain't got no seeds. And then the watermelon was bigger than the wheel on my damn car! Black folks, you got to grow it yourself. That's why at FDMG we're going to teach them how to grow their own food, how to heal their own body. The first thing Willie Lynch said, never let your Africans communicate in their native language. He said they must speak your tongue. As long as they communicate in their native tongue, they will always remember that they were somebody before you. But the white men of America didn't listen. They didn't let you learn how to read. If they caught you with a book, they cut your feet off. Trying to get an education can get you bullwhipped. So guess what? By the white man not allowing you to learn, he helped you preserve your African tongue. And that's why when you're talking in Memphis, you're not talking English, you're speaking an African language, popularly known as Ebonics. The only thing you use from the white man is his vernacular, his vocabulary words. Now, some of you Negroes in here is probably like, I can't believe he's telling them this shit. So, let me take it a step further to make sure y'all understand. Let's look at 3 differences between the way white language operates and the way black language operates. Difference number 1. In white language, most of the words end with a consonant. We are going to have supper with the Thompsons at TGI Fridays. Notice there's a consonant on most European words. Black language, I don't care if you live in Ghana, Nigeria, Senegal, Liberia, Sierra Leone, there are hardly any consonants at the end of words. It is usually vowels. Most of your names end in a vowel. Rashida, Anisa, Abdullah. So when African people talk, the words blend together as if they are one. It's not broken English. It is African communication. So instead of you saying, we are about to go have dinner, you say, in Memphis, we fixing to get something to eat. Ain't no damn breaks in that shit, one word. a language has a rhythm. A language has a philosophy. Language has a syntax. Language has a structure. Language has a grammar. The words are only one part. And don't tell me we speak in the white man's language because we're using the white man's words, because 60% of the words in the English dialect do not come from England. Let me give you another difference between white language and black language. When white people talk, they are communicating the message. After they finish talking, the white man will say, "Did you understand me? Did you hear what I said? Is there anything about this message unclear?" Black people, we don't give a shit what you say. Black people are looking for what you meant when you said what you said. So we're not looking for the message, we're looking for the vibration in the message. Do you feel me, Memphis, Tennessee? So when a sister go to one sister and say, you can go back there and out the door, and somebody is selling some food that way. And you still stand there. She say, "Well, did you hear me?" And you say, "I heard what you said, but I felt what your disrespectful ass meant." And why do you think you have that difference? White people focus on the message. Black people focus on the vibe. Because white language is about manipulation. Black language is about the truth. Let me give you one more. And we're going to go. European language, only one person is allowed to talk at a time. White folks will say, "Do not talk or interrupt until Miss Serbanowski is totally done." And you gotta wait for her bad breath ass to finish before you can talk. Black people, we do not exist in a hierarchy. Our culture is collectivist and participatory. So if Dr. Umar is talking and my brother is feeling me, he will jump right in, cut me off, and finish my statement, and be like, "You where you feel me, fam?" And do you know how happy black people get when somebody feels you? Thank you! So please don't think the black child is a white child painted black. Even white folks will tell you their research shows them that the African child develops quicker than all other children. Your child at 2 is doing what the whites is doing at 5. That's why this ADHD is a joke, because for most of the black boys diagnosed with ADHD, they're really mentally gifted and suffering from boredom in the classroom. He said, was put petty differences amongst your Negroes and make them fight each other. He said, put the light-skinned Tennessean against the dark-skinned Tennessean, put the Kappas against the Qs, Sigmas against the Alphas, put the Deltas against the AKAs, the SD Rose against the Z, put the Muslim against the Christian, put the educated Negro against the ghetto Negro. Yes! And guess what, Memphis? Y'all still fighting each other over that superficial stuff today. In Pan-Africanism, our first principle of Pan-Africanism is what? All African people are but one family. Whether you live in Memphis, whether you live in Nigeria, whether you live in Puerto Rico, whether you're in London, we are family first. The third and final thing that he said, you have to destroy, annihilate and remove the black woman's natural love and respect for the black man. He said, line up all your Negro women and children. Find the biggest, meanest, baddest African. Beat him down in front of the women and children. Don't kill him, but beat him so bad he'll wish he was dead. Tar and feather that Negro. Pick him up and tie one leg to one horse facing that direction and another leg to another horse facing that direction. Make the women watch, make the kids watch, and then beat them horses as they run off in opposite directions, splitting that black man's body in two. He said, if you do this, the black woman who once respected her man will repudiate him. The black woman who once looked to her man for protection will despise him. The black woman who once honored the black man will neglect, ridicule, and dismiss him. Black women, just as I told the brothers that they cannot turn their back on y'all, y'all cannot turn your back on us. Couple of announcements. First thing, when we done here today, we got vendors all in this back. Turn around and look. You got food. You got Brother Yusuf with the books there. Classic books, by the way. We got the sister in the back. She has wares. We got the sister right back here with the earrings and some nice, beautiful African hats back there. You make sure you buy at least one thing from one of these vendors. Y'all been putting Chinese kids through college for years. Y'all been putting Arab children through college for years. Y'all been putting East Indian children through college for years, even before you come to my table. And my table is all the way out and to the left. You support these vendors first. And after you get something from them, you come into my room and you get a copy of my book, Psychoacademic Holocaust. If you don't have it, you need it. Because it's the only book that's going to teach you how to fight to protect your child from miseducation. It's the only book written by a black school psychologist just for y'all. And I got some hoodies and hats and DVDs and tea. So you buy something. I want to be clear. I'm a little different than many other scholars. Dr. Umar Johnson had a career before black consciousness. So I don't have to pimp you to pay my bills. I was blessed with 6 degrees to do that. When you buy a ticket to a Umar Johnson event, as you did today, some of that money is going to pay for that black boy college tour I'm about to tell you about. Some of that money is going to that Fred Douglass Marcus Garvey Academy fundraiser. Some of that money is going to the National Independent Black Parent Association Conference that I'm about to tell you about, and hope that some of you come to. 4 announcements. Announcement number 1. In Baltimore, 2 weeks from today, May 27th, 28th, and 29th, I will be hosting the National Independent Black Parent Association Conference. I'm hoping some of y'all come because we need chapters in Memphis, Knoxville, Nashville, and points beyond. If you can only come one day, come Saturday, May 28th. Get that training from me in person so you can come back here and start organizing. 7 committees. A special ed committee to fight against special ed abuse and exploitation. What are they doing with your child's special ed money? You do know every time I put a child in special ed, they get money for that, right? Y'all do know special ed is a business, right? Y'all do know special ed is a hustle, right? And then we're going to have a discipline committee to investigate how many of our kids are being suspended from school every day, expelled every school year, removed from the class. And then we're going to have a finance committee so we can investigate how Memphis schools are spending your tax money because it ain't going on your babies. And we're going to have a homeschool committee. So if you're homeschooling, we want to organize you and make it effective. If 10 of y'all want to homeschool, why are you homeschooling by yourself? She should be the math teacher Monday. He could be the science teacher Tuesday. She could be the language teacher Wednesday. I'm going to teach white supremacy on Sunday. We're going to have a social committee to help all the black parents who are struggling. And we're going to have a parent advocate committee. I need some of y'all to be advocates. You know what that means? If he got to go see about his son, he's going to go with him as the advocate. He's been to the Dr. Umar training. He knows the law. So when they tell him, if you don't get your son tested, he can't come back. I beg your pardon? Are you refusing his son admission to school because the father chose not to evaluate? Do you know that's illegal? And what are you supposed to do, parents, if the school ever says something that you think is illegal? Ask them to write it down and sign it. Did y'all hear what I just said? The charter school. If you don't put your son on medicine, I'm afraid we can't let him back. Can you please put that on paper and sign your damn name, please? Because that's illegal. And then you sue the hell out of their white asses. Y'all got to get better at this. And then we're going to have a Special Olympics for black special ed children. Could you imagine being black and deaf? Could you imagine being black and blind? Could you imagine being black and autistic? Could you imagine being black with a brain injury? Could you imagine being black with cerebral palsy or Down syndrome? The white Special Olympics don't give a shit about our kids. We got to come together and support the black special children and give them their own special damn Olympics. Damn well what the white folks is doing. Do it ourselves. That's the first. The second, I'm taking my third group tour to Africa this summer. If you've never been to Africa, consider going with me. This year is Senegal and South Africa. We're going to Shaka Zulu's gravesite. We're going to Nelson Mandela's prison. We're going to the Goree Island slave dungeon in Senegal. We're going to the Apartheid Museum in in Johannesburg. You're going to go to the Hector Peterson Museum in Soweto. Many of you saw the movie Sarafina, which was based off the 1977 student revolt against the forced teaching of white language. If you've never been to Africa, think about going with us. If you're not ready to go this year, save your money. I go every year at the same time. The last week of July, first week in August. It's not a question of if, it's only a question of where we're going. Third announcement. The Black Boy and Girl College Tour will be taking place June the 30th to July the 14th. If you have a son or a daughter between the age of 11 and 17, think about sending them to me. We're going to begin and end in Newark, New Jersey. We're going to go to the Apollo Theater, Malcolm and Betty Shabazz Center, which is the place where Malcolm was murdered. We're going to go to Thorncliffe Cemetery and pour libation at the grave of Malcolm X, Dr. Ben, Khaled Abdul Muhammad, James Baldwin, Malcolm Jr. We're going to go to Cheyney and Lincoln University, our first two HBCUs. We're going to go to the Harriet Tubman home where she lived, grave and museum, the Frederick Douglass home, the Great Blacks in Wax Museum in Baltimore, one of my favorite. We're going to go to Compton State, Morgan State, Bowie State. I'm going to take them to Great Adventures, in Dorney Park, in miniature golf, and to the beach. No Speedos, please. We're going to go to Virginia State, Hampton University, and we're going to end it all at the Nat Turner Trail in Virginia, where Nat Turner led the bloodiest slave revolt in American history in the 1830s. Now you're saying, Dr. Umar, my son lives in Tennessee. How the hell he gonna get to Newark? It's real simple. You will fly him. We will get him from the airport. Put him on the bus. We will pick him up. Put him on the train, and we will get him. You don't have to go with him. Send him. The chaperones will retrieve him. Put him on the tour. You will talk to him every day on his cell phone that you give him. And the day after the tour, we send him right back to Memphis. He's on his way back. Don't make excuses. Some of y'all got boys who need to be with me for 2 weeks and you know it. So get that money up. The tour is $3,500, $1,500 I am paying for out of lecture money. The other $2,000 you pay. Right now, $500 deposit. The balance isn't due until we leave, June the 30th. If you got a son hanging with the wrong squad, if you got a daughter who out there doing what she ain't got no business doing, you know where she need to be June 30th to July 14th. Well, ain't nobody but yourself if they not on my tour. If you can't do it this year, we doing it every year. But some of y'all got children, all of you have children who need this experience. Give it to them. If you have a cell phone, take out your cell phone. I'm going to give you my number in case you need to text me for the flyer for the Africa trip, flyer for the college tour, flyer for the parent conference. 215-989-9858. I repeat, 215-989-9858. One more time. 215-989-9858. Ladies, it ain't that kind of party. I'm fresh off one scandal, ain't looking for another. As I conclude, brothers and sisters, keep your faith that we can overcome. I don't care how bad it looks. Once upon a time, Britain was a nothing. Once upon a time, China was a nothing. Once upon a time, East India was a nothing. Once upon a time, the United States of America was a nothing. What man has done, man can do again. There's an African proverb that says, every time a new African baby is born, that is God's message that he has not given up on us yet. We must keep the faith and keep grinding. I want to end with a quote from my ancestor Frederick Douglass, who said, and if you have family in South Carolina, I will be in Greenville, South Carolina, Thursday. I will be in Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania, Sunday, June 5th. I will be in Brooklyn, New York, Sunday, May 22nd. Baltimore, we have the parent conference, the 27th through the 29th, plus I will be giving a community lecture in Baltimore on Sunday, the 29th. Savannah, Georgia, June 2nd. I will be back in South Africa after the group tour. I'll be doing a month-long speaking tour in South Africa. I just got invited to go to Vienna, Austria, Adolf Hitler's home. Hopefully I get back. But it's black people everywhere, so I got to go. It's black people everywhere. I will be in Jamaica celebrating the Honorable Marcus Messiah Garvey's Earth Day this year in Jamaica. Frederick Douglass said, if there is no struggle, there is no progress. Those who profess the faith of freedom and deprecate agitation are like men who want crops without plowing up the ground. They want rain but don't want to deal with the thunder. They want water from the ocean but they scared of the waves. He said the struggle we have might be moral or it might be physical or it might be both moral and physical, but it must be a struggle. He said for 20 years I prayed on my knees to God for freedom, but the good Lord gave Frederick no freedom until I got up off my knees and start praying with my feet. He said, if you want respect from white people, why do you look for pity? The man who pities you will never respect you, and the man who respects you has no need for pity. He said, but most of all, you remember this. Power concedes nothing without a demand. It never did, and it never will. His Excellency Marcus Messiah Garvey said, without confidence in yourself, you are twice defeated in the race of life. But with confidence, you have won even before you have started. I want to shout out the first of my ancestors brought to America, a black man named Bailey, stolen from West Africa, brought to Tyler County, Maryland. He married a black woman by the name of Selah. In 1745, they had Grandma Jenny. In 1774, 2 years before the Declaration of Independence, Grandma Jenny had Grandma Betsy. Grandma Betsy married a free black man, Grandpa Isaac. They had 12 children. One daughter was named Harriet, another one Betsy, who was my 5 times great-grandmother. These 2 sisters were raped by Aaron Anthony, who owned my family. As a result of the rape in 1818, Aunt Harriet gave birth to the greatest black leader in American history, Frederick Bailey, who ran away at the age of 20 and changed his name from Fred Bailey to Fred Douglass to evade capture under the fugitive slave law. My grandma Betsy, she was sold into Mississippi when Grandpa Stephen was still a baby. He grew up, he wasn't as lucky as Fred to run away. He stayed on a plantation in Maryland. Married Grandma Caroline, and they had a firstborn son, George Washington Bailey, my 3 times great-grandfather, who went on to become the first black public school teacher in Eastern Shore, Maryland. After fighting in the Civil War, Grandpa George married Grandma Annie. They had Grandma Caroline, who moved to Philadelphia. She had Grandma Vivian, who married a Spanish-speaking African named Cicero from Cuba. They had my Grandma Ida, who's still alive, and she married Grandpa James Johnson, who's now deceased, and I got a call on my Uncle Clifford, who's also deceased, murdered at the age of 18, and I got a call on my great-great-grandma Gertrude and Grandpa Charlie and Grandma Curly and Grandpa Robert Shoemake Sr. and Robert Shoemake Jr. and Emmett Hollinger and Grandma Julia Pratt and Isaac Johnson and Eileen Johnson and William Thomas Tillman and Uncle Billy Jr., my little cousin Nancy, who drowned in a swimming pool at 22nd and Lehigh while I was still an intern. And I got a call on Dr. Leophis King, my mentor, who died a couple years ago, who was on my doctoral dissertation committee. He was struggling the whole time but never told me. And right after I successfully defended my dissertation, he passed away within days. And the original black man, Reverend David Devlin, and I got a call on my big brother Clifford from another mother. I got a call on the ancestors of Goree Island and Cape Coast Slave Dungeon and Elmina and Asa Mansour. I got to call on all the great ancestors, male and female. Remember this, in our culture, which is older than your Islam and your Christianity, in our culture, our ancestors never die. They stay in the home to look out for you. Our ancestors are our angels. But if you don't call on them, they'll never